Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we caught up, I believe, in 2021. So
Indeed.
right around the time the pandemic was really, really arcing. And I'm curious before we get into the latest album with the Stellar Cast being, I want to know how did you get through that time period and how good does it feel to be back on the stage and releasing new material now?
Oh man. Yeah, it was definitely rough. As everyone knows, it's just it was a desert for no gigs and but it was a time of creative, work. And so that is partly why I was able to get the work done that resulted in this album. So it gave me time to do some transcribing, it gave me time to do some practicing. Um,
So talk to me a little bit about the album. How did you get this group of musicians together? Yes, that's it right there. How did you get Rufus in the cast and how did it all come together artistically?
Yeah, well, so I had this is part of some of the tracks on this album are part of my doctoral work here at UW Madison, and I had in April 2020 wanted to go to New York City and record with a trio in New York, and I was trying to get Peter Washington and Lewis Nash to record, and that would have been an excellent trip. And then, of course, we all know what happened in 2020, so it all got canceled. And so I was doing more writing and doing more practicing and looking for a way, to put back this project back together, knowing that I would probably have to do it closer to home. And Peter Dominguez, who is the professor of jazz bass at UW Madison, suggested that Rufus Reid was going to be in town the following April for the Richard Davis Young Bassist Foundation meeting, which they do every year um, in the spring. And so he said, "Hey, there's a master that I could hook you up with who might be available to do a recording session." And thankfully, it all worked out. And I have Russ Johnson on trumpet, who teaches at UW Parkside, but was a staple in New York City for many years. And then Matt Endres is the drum set player, and he's the drum set teacher at UW Madison. Matt stepped in very last minute. Again, COVID touched my project. I had Dana Hall set up to record with me, and Dana got COVID the day before my session and
Wow.
was unable to make it. And so Matt, who plays great on this CD, was able to jump in last minute and do such a great job. So
Right on. So what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
I hope they can glean, that I have a deep respect for Mulgrew Miller. That's most of this music was born from that, and that's part of what my doctoral project is about too. Examining Mulgrew's playing with Woody Shaw's group. And Mulgrew was young in his life at that time, but that playing just resonated with me, and I think him being young resonated with me too. Like, wow, look at this young guy playing this amazing music, and
Yeah.
this is just on fire. I mean, even sometimes the rhythm section sounds a little unstable to me, but it still is like right on the edge, and it had that New York vibe that I was just into, and I really dug the vocabulary that Mulgrew was using. And so this project started by me just wanting to kind of understand what he was doing. And what I did was I just transcribed a bunch of his playing, a bunch of his solos from that time period. And then I used those as a creative springboard to write some compositions to explore that in my own playing. And 5 of the tunes on Being are tunes that are from that project.
So take me back to the beginnings. What was the first album, first experience you had with Mulgrew?
Oh man, well, I got to see Mulgrew play, and this was probably I want to say it was in 90 or 91 with Tony Williams group.
Wow.
And that was in Dayton, Ohio at Jilly's. And
Nice.
that's so exciting. And it was just such an exciting time for me, as a young musician, just loving jazz. And here I am getting to see my idols.
Yeah.
Me and a friend had some old Gretsch ads that Tony Williams was in where he was wearing this like turtleneck. And we brought him to the gig. And there was Tony Williams like smoking his little butt cigar, with
Yeah.
his back to the bar on the break. And he was totally approachable. He let us come up to us. He signed our things. I
Wow.
didn't get to meet Mulgrew that day, but his playing left a huge impression on me.
Yeah. So isn't that kind of the way that you really grow and learn is by transcribing, by taking someone's existing work and kind of putting your spin on it and figuring out kind of the nuts and bolts of how this all goes together?
Sure is how I learned. Ironically, Mulgrew himself was very against the idea of this. And in fact, in many interviews, he's said that he didn't do any transcribing and doesn't recommend it.
Wow.
Um, but we all learn in different ways, and I can't imagine. Well, I know from my investigation, personally, that Mulgrew absorbed material from other players.
Yeah.
No one comes out of nowhere. But I think
Right.
it's about the process, right?
Yeah.
And so some of us use, I grew up with a written process of learning solos. And, I don't have my students do that now. I have them learn them by ear and play along with the recordings. But when I first started, it was about trying to figure out the notes and writing them down on paper. And then I would learn the solo and play it along with the album and memorize it.
So what about live shows? What's coming up? I know the warm months are coming up. This is going to be released March 8th, which is close to the anniversary 4 years ago of everything shutting down. So talk to me a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, I have all kinds of different live shows. I do all sorts of different things here in Madison. I wish I could say that I had a show completely booked as like a CD release party for this CD, but honestly, it took a long time to release this CD, and I did this last August.
Wow.
I played a CD release party for this CD last August
Wow.
as part
Yeah.
of a concert series in downtown Madison. I would love to travel to Florida. I think I have a long time association with this wonderful bar called Pilar's in Winter Garden, Florida. I used to live in Orlando, and I would love to get a chance to go back and down there. I just haven't organized it yet, but sometime this summer would be nice to do that. I am going this week to work as a clinician at Appalachian State University for Todd Wright, who is a sax professor there. So I actually leave tomorrow and I play a Valentine's Day concert there.
Cool.
I also do tons of live work here with as a sideman. So I work sometimes with Michael Hackett, who is a wonderful trumpet player out of the Indiana University tradition. And yeah, and I freelance in all kinds of other groups too. Of course, I do jobbing stuff and gigging stuff.
Right on. So talk to me a little bit about when a new release comes out. Do you do anything special that day, like March 8th? Do you have anything planned? Is there any superstition, anything that you do?
No, it would be great to have a new tradition. This is my fourth release,
Yeah.
and I have traditionally celebrated them by trying to do some kind of CD release party. I think it would be really cool to do a listening party.
Yeah.
I haven't organized that, but that was kind of my thought this time was I might try to have a bunch of friends over and and just put the CD on, if they're willing. I mean, it seems a little narcissistic, but
No, I think that's awesome. I actually went to I live in Lee Summit, the home of Pat Metheny,
oh yeah.
and they have a really unique little downtown area. And I went in one night. It's a place called Fringe, and they had vinyl going. There was a guy there with big speakers, and you could go and pick whatever you want. And that would be cool too if you had it on vinyl and you could just throw it on, throw Mulgrew on after that, have just kind of an eclectic mix.
That is such a great idea, Joe. And there's a place that just opened here called Lola's,
Yeah.
which is kind of the same thing. They have a DJ, they have a bunch of vinyl on the walls, and you can go and pick out vinyl and have the DJ play it. But they do some things where people have, they'll do like a Jimmy Smith night. And in fact, I'm going to play one of these where they have a live band that plays like a set of Jimmy Smith stuff, and then they roll a bunch of vinyl
That's cool.
of Jimmy Smith. Yeah, it is cool. That would be a neat thing to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
I should talk to him about trying to organize we could do a set as the live band and play some of the music
Yeah.
and play like you said, some Mulgrew right after.
Absolutely. That would be awesome. So the new album is coming out on March 8th and
Yes.
it's called Being. So if anyone wants to pick it up proper, there it is right there, or
Right.
learn about live shows, anything else that's going on in your world, what's the best way to do it?
Yeah, well, my website, chrisrottmayer.com. I have a Bandcamp site, which is chrisrottmayer.bandcamp.com. You can find me there. And that's got all my releases except this release, which I was lucky this time. Shifting Paradigm, which is a
Yeah.
record label out of Minnesota, picked up the album and they're releasing it. So this album is available on their website and also from my live gigs. But their Bandcamp site is where you can pre-order it.
Right on, Chris. Great to catch up with you in better times. And
Yeah.
best of luck with the album. I've listened to it. I really enjoy it. So I think people are going to dig it. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Joe. I had so much fun making it. And I love that you're willing to talk to me about it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And before